Hey, what's up? How's it going, everyone? Welcome to Combat Ready HQ. Welcome to today's video where we're going to be looking at Army 101 basic combat training. So this is actually quite a recent video. I've done a few review reactions to US Marine Corps, US Army boot camp, but they were older videos. This was released around 3 months ago. So it's very up to date. Be very interesting to see how it is now, how it compares to previous, how it compared to my training. I spent 16 years in the Army, went through basic training in 2006. This is basic combat training, so I'm guessing this is the first lot of training from what I can gather. Please correct me if I'm wrong on that. Really interested in this. Hope you enjoy my commentary. Make sure you grab a coffee. I've got mine, Combat Ready HQ coffee blends. We got the Combat Ready blend. Check that out in the description below. But let's get into it. As always, please like, subscribe to the channel. I appreciate the support. We're getting there. We're nearly at 100k and the community is growing. It's so cool to be a part of. And always check out the original video in the description and comment below with what your thoughts are and what you want to see next. But I'm going to stop rambling. Let's get into it. So straight away from the beginning, I know this is how the US do it. You all get loaded onto buses and coaches first, and then you arrive at the training depot to carry out basic training. Within the British Army, you can either get a lift by yourself, your parents, you arrive by train and get picked up from the train station, or just turn up at camp. Normally a lot of parents, especially for the younger lot, drop them off directly at camp. You then get taken in, say your goodbyes, parents get a brief, and then they move on. Here it's you're already on the coach, you've already said goodbye to your parents. It's the bus that brings you in.
There's no prouder tradition than serving in the United States Army. And basic combat training is your first step to becoming a respected member in the profession of arms. Soldier training is demanding, both physically and mentally. But in the end, you'll feel a sense of accomplishment that you'll carry for the rest of your life. During this 10-week training process, you'll learn important Army values, traditions, and skills, such as teamwork, discipline, proper military dress, land navigation, rappelling, and weapons handling.
The Army has 4 basic combat training locations, including Fort Moore, Georgia, Fort Jackson, South Carolina, Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, and Fort Sill, Oklahoma. Your training location.
Okay, so they're all pretty much to the east. There was a couple in the centre, so if you're on the far west, you've got to travel. Obviously in the UK, I went to AFC Harrogate. It's a 4 or 5 hour journey. For Americans, that is far, isn't it? Pretty far to travel.
Is determined by your specific Army job, which you'll learn in the advanced individual training phase. And those trainees on track to become officers will go on to Officer Candidate School at Fort Moore after completing their basic training.
For all trainees, most nights are spent in the barracks, and every recruit is assigned a bunk and a locker. The only times you don't stay in the barracks is during an overnight field exercise.
So the difference with US Army camp to British Army is normally what I've seen as well, the US Marine Corps, US Army, Navy, etc., is you have these like big long rooms and like sort of bunk beds. Within the UK, it's normally 12-man rooms, but you normally, because that's your section in your platoon, and then you have a single bed with your locker and your locker layout instead of the double bunk beds.
Hot meals are provided each day during basic training at the On-Post Dining Facility, or DFAC. The DFAC offers a variety of nutritious food, which will help keep you energized during your tough physical training. Phone calls are limited during basic training and are at the discretion of the drill sergeant. Packages with treats and snacks are discouraged. However, letters between family and trainees are highly encouraged.
After you arrive at your designated training location, you'll spend your first several days in reception. Here you'll fill out paperwork to start getting paid, receive physical exams and immunizations, get a haircut if you're male, and you'll be issued your Army uniform and other personal items.
Gotta love that haircut. Every time I say I turned up, short back and sides, a neat haircut. That's what they tell you to turn up with on the joining instructions. You just get a buzz cut all over that you have to pay for a £5, and it all gets shaved off.
Once you complete reception, you'll move to your training company and meet the drill sergeants who will train and mentor you until graduation.
And this is where it's different from the UK to the US. So I know you do like a sort of documentation admin period. Like you said, you just get your hair cut, you get your uniforms, you do your medicals and stuff, and then you go off to your training company, you meet your drill sergeants, and that's where you'll meet your staff. With the UK, as soon as you turn up, you'll get put into your platoon, you'll meet your training staff, and everything starts from then, and you're done from then. So day one, week one, with the training staff, you go for the medicals with them, you go to get your kit with them. It's all done from there.
Your first week in the training company is called Yellow Phase. During this phase, you are introduced to military customs and courtesies, discipline, the Army ethic, values, Army history, physical readiness training, and performance optimization.
As a drill sergeant, I'm here to coach, teach, and mentor. I teach trainees the basics, whether it be shooting, moving, communicating. They learn the basics.
I feel as though I'm kind of taking a child and molding them into something that they join the Army to be. And usually that's to better themselves. They coming into the Army to discipline them.
Back to that. Where was that?
The Army.
But not on properly. Missed her ears, missed half her nose, missed her neck. There's no point having it on.
And usually that's to better themselves. They coming into the Army to discipline themselves as well, to learn a new career path, something of that sort. So it's my job to show them a new way of life.
After recruits complete Yellow Phase, they enter their next phase of training, called Red Phase, which lasts about 3 weeks. Here, you'll learn the fundamentals and traditions of being a professional soldier, including the warrior ethos and the soldier's creed. This phase includes daily physical training and other physical tasks, such as the confidence course, team development course, rappel tower, and MBC chamber.
This is where you start your fitness transformation. The Army Combat Fitness Test is administered, so you will see how you do on your first PT test. This will consist of a deadlift, standing power throw, push-ups, a sprint drag carry, the plank, and a 2-mile run. And you'll learn basic soldier tasks like how to pack and load your rucksack and clean your issued weapon.
The hardest part of Red Phase for me was definitely adjusting living with about 40 people in a bay, ranging from ages 18 to almost 40, and different cultures and backgrounds and ethnicities.
Learning to work together as a team, it can definitely be one of the biggest challenges in Red Phase.
After Red Phase, you'll enter White Phase.
Before we move on to White Phase, the hardest part of military training, US Army training, is either working in a team or living in a room of different people's ages and background. Is the hardest part. Not the constant inspections, the physical training, the pushing, the test, the early mornings, the late nights, amount of learning, exercises. The US Army, and like constantly getting screamed at, has the US Army really gone that far to the left that now the hardest part is learning to work in a team, which isn't that hard and shouldn't be that hard. It's quite important in the Army being able to work as a team and living with people of different ages, sizes and groups, ethnic backgrounds. Ridiculous. Like, that should not be the toughest part of training. US Army should be tough. They should build you, knock you down, take that civilian away from you and build you back up how they want you to be. But I'm quite confused as well before we move on to the White Phase, because Red Phase, they said, was 3 weeks long. That's where you learn weapon cleaning and all that sort of stuff, MBC, and do a lot of physical training. But 3 weeks seems very sort of short. But yeah, we'll move on.
This phase lasts about 2 weeks and increases the level of fitness training and your soldiering skills, including how to set a perimeter, hand-to-hand combat drills, basic rifle marksmanship, first aid, and land navigation. It's through training such as this that you start to come together as a team and practice the leadership, resiliency, and teamwork skills you're learning at the same time you're gaining a new confidence.
You don't have to be the strongest or the fastest. You just have to be mentally ready, and you have to push yourself through
Willing to
and be your own support.
Every day you're gonna have to give it everything you got. This isn't an easy thing to do. It's a choice to leave your job, leave your family. But ultimately, I think just paving the way for the future is important, and showing your family that you can do whatever you set your mind to if you're really willing to put in the work.
It's all mental, and you have to constantly tell yourself like you will get through it and you will complete basic training, because that's what's going to keep you at the end of the day.
The last phase, blue phase, is about 3 weeks long and completes your transformation from civilian to soldier.
Hang on, let's just go back again. Sorry, we've just finished another phase. White phase is 2 weeks on, and that's when you learn land navigation and a couple of other bits. 2 weeks only to learn that land navigation. Are you not learning that throughout the whole of basic combat training? Can someone sort of clear that up for me?
During this phase, you'll learn advanced marksmanship, the proper way to throw grenades, and maneuvering techniques. You're trained to engage targets and learn how to operate and move as a small team. The end of blue phase culminates in a nighttime infiltration exercise and a 10-mile road march. This time is also where you will receive your U.S. Army badge, which will be worn on the left shoulder of your uniform and your black beret.
The importance of this ceremony is to be able to allow the trainees to be able to recognize what it is that they've accomplished, that the script that they've listened to from the beginning lets them know the legacy of which they are now a part of, where they've been called through this whole process of, they've heard trainee, that now being able to be part of the soldier induction ceremony, that now they take that next step in their careers.
Meals are provided each day during basic training at the
That they're no longer trainees, now they become soldiers.
Your last week of basic combat training is graduation week. Where you'll take your final PT test for graduation. But this time also includes Family Day in addition to the graduation ceremony itself. You'll also spend time out processing and preparing for the next phase of your Army career, which is your advanced individual training.
I've learned that I always have to put the team first no matter what, and that selfless service is the most important thing a soldier could do.
It's a great learning experience. It instills discipline, and I think it's overall really beneficial for society as a whole.
Basic training is not going to be easy. It's not made to be easy. The drill sergeants are going to be hard on you. That's our job. That's what we're supposed to do. Do not take it personal. Take it as a learning experience and constantly tell yourself that you can do it and you will do it.
There's no denying that basic combat training is tough, but you'll find that becoming a valued member of the world's greatest army is one of your life's major accomplishments, and the skills you learn will be ones you use for the rest of your life. It's also your first step in a career as a soldier. Learning tough physical and mental skills, as well as nurturing your leadership abilities, will create limitless opportunities as you move forward in Army training. Join us and discover untapped possibilities.
Be all you can be. What is going on with these military videos and adverts? Like, it's just, I know everyone needs to belong and feel like they're a part of something, but just taking all the excitement out of them. And it just, the hardest thing about training is working as a team, or learning to work as a team, or living in a room of 40 people. Not the stretcher race that we did, or the overnight exercises where it rained on us, or we were getting up early, we were doing night attacks. And then Jesus. And I was also confused with the phases. Like, having phases is brilliant, you know, separate it. But it's like every phase you learn something new. But it was like 2 weeks land navigation, 3 weeks marksmanship and tactical skills and how to move with a weapon. Just doesn't seem long enough. In the British Army, you start off very basic, and like the first few weeks you do everything, and then throughout you constantly practice and practice. So you're doing it every week or two. So you're constantly enhancing those skills, instead of just 2 weeks land navigation. So it'd be good if someone could clear that up for me, that you do that throughout, but that phase mainly focuses on that, or it is just in that phase that's the only time you do land nav. You know, I think it's blue phase is the only time you do shooting and tactical skills. I'd be really interested to know that. You know, it does look good. I think, yeah, it just wasn't what I was expecting. It's obviously, I didn't realise it was like a recruitment advert. Pretty much is what that is, and it was pretty woke, but it was pretty interesting too to see what you actually do, and how it sort of works. I just think it's very disjointed, and me personally, I wouldn't have the phases set as they are if that's how I've taken it and it is correct. I would have you doing all of it throughout the whole sort of training instead of just at these one set phases. Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's quite different to how the UK do it. Apart from the fitness test now, we are very similar. We do the SCR, you do the US Army fitness test. We changed ours, you changed yours around a similar time and incorporated very similar exercises. We do a power ball throw, like a med ball throw, but slightly different. We now do deadlift, we do pull-ups instead of push-ups. We do a 2K run instead of a 2-mile run. For once, you do a longer run. We actually now do a shorter run. Yeah, I think the US Army, though, still a brilliant army, just like the British Army, slowly moving lefter and wokier, but it's still a brilliant service to be part of, and it's a brilliant career that everyone should try out. And it was very interesting to see how different you actually do it. I'd like to have seen more, but it did break up, like, you know, how yours is sort of laid out compared to how ours is laid out. With ours, sort of week 1 to 4 is skill at arms, but you also, within that, you're going to start your BCDTs, so battlefield casualty drills. You're going to start your land navigation. You're going to start other sort of things as well, so sort of field sort of work. You're doing your room. I'm trying to think, you do your CBRN as well, and then you constantly progress. At the end of week 4 you do a weapon handling test, and then that's when you can go on the ranges. But throughout that, you're constantly doing battlefield casualties, you're constantly doing land navigation, CBRN. You're then constantly going out on exercise, you're doing the ranges all the time, learning how to shoot, move tactically, etc. like that, throughout the whole of basic training, building up. So that's how it works out different. Like I said, you lot arrive on coaches. You can get, within the UK, you can get your parents to drop you off, you can get a train, you get a taxi, however you want to get there. Hope you enjoyed the video. Let us know what your thoughts are, and I'll see you soon.